Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Java with Jen and Jess. Today, we are going to be talking home inspections and home insurance, how they go together, what to look for, and how to save yourself and or your clients some money. But first, we are super excited to have our small business spotlight this week. This week, we have KJ Newman with Move America. Hey, KJ.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Welcome. Thanks for being on with us.
Well,
thanks for having me. This is exciting. This is good stuff.
Yeah, thank you, KJ. It's so awesome for you to join us today. I am especially excited because I met you not too long ago, and learning all about your business and how hard you work and your growth has been incredible. So, wanted to kind of get in to know you a little bit more. So, introduce yourself as far as when did you start your business and how did you get in?
Yeah, so Move started in 2015. I previously, spent many years working for an apartment developer, being, on the residential side of things, like residential property management. And the name Move actually came to me first. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do with it, but I was looking for, tired of sitting behind a desk. I wanted more of like I thought would be a more blue collar experience, but it turned out to be anything but that. But yeah, Move's been around since 2015, and I guess it stems from my previous experience in the real estate world doing residential property management.
Awesome. What do you love about this business that you're in? I mean, you've been by some time now. I mean, what is it?
Yeah, so I love that, every day is different. It's always ever changing. We help turn stressful situations, because moving is definitely stressful, into happy experiences. So I definitely appreciate, getting to meet people, getting to hear their stories, why they're moving. Sometimes it's for happy reasons, as you know, sometimes it's for unfortunate reasons. So we just try to tailor the experience based on the client and make it as enjoyable as possible.
That's amazing, because so you really make it like a personal experience, and that's different. Because I know that every time that I've moved, it's like the worst thing in the world is to pack up your house, and move those boxes, especially if you're moving during the summer. It's just relentless. So you being able to connect personally with your clients is amazing. How is your company adjusting to the unfortunate situation we're in right now with the COVID-19, and how is your company adjusting in these times? What are you doing differently?
Yeah, so, at first, if I told you 6 months ago that when you go up to a client's house and you don't shake their hand and you're wearing a mask, that would have probably been offensive, right? So now, we're just doing things to protect ourselves, protect the crew members, protect the client. So, we are using masks throughout the whole moving process. We're using gloves as well, because, we're touching everybody's personal articles. So got to do things to protect everybody, but doing little things that we did before, but just making sure we're doing better, like disinfecting our equipment after each use, and making sure that we're keeping the trucks clean and all that good stuff. COVID's definitely thrown a wrench in things. We were supposed to open up in the Orlando market actually this month, or this coming month in June, but that's kind of pushed us back a little bit, just because we were unsure where things were when the dust was going to settle, if you will. But it's starting to pick up, which is good.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I know you kind of answered this a little bit in your previous statement when you said you personally, connect to your clients, but what other things set you apart from other moving companies? What makes you different?
Yeah, so Move is really centered around being just an easy experience overall. So like I was mentioning, we tailor the moving process toward the client, so whatever works best for them, but we're very tech focused. So our customers can do everything from receiving their estimate, uploading inventory, doing an in-home survey, signing the quote, paying their deposit without ever having to pick up the phone or talk to us. It can be a completely online experience. which is great because, we have office hours, but that may not actually coincide with when people are available. So if, they only have 1 a.m. to get their move scheduled, they can definitely do that just by going on our website. All of our employees too, they're trained employees. We don't hire from like a day labor pool or anything of that nature. So who's a mover today is not going to be a painter tomorrow. And we just try to, aim for a very polished moving experience overall. So, all of our movers are polite. They're well groomed. So you're not going to, no one's going to show up to your door that you'd be like, oh man, I wish that they weren't going to be touching my
That in itself is amazing because, in my previous moving experiences, it's been a little uncomfortable, I have to say. So having personal attention, presentable appearance, is really, it is impressive. And as far as, your areas that you currently serve, what areas do you currently serve? And obviously you said you wanted to expand to Orlando, but tell us about that.
Yeah, so right now we do have hubs on both coasts. So right now we're operating in Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas counties. And then I'm also in Brevard and Indian River County on the other coast, serving like Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, those places. So right now I'm actually in a hotel in Atlanta because this was another spot that's coming up in the future. So I'm meeting with some people up here this week, but Orlando will be next, and then hopefully Atlanta will be our first location outside of Florida in the coming months.
That's awesome. I am so excited for you. Your growth has been, and Jen and I definitely are really passionate about bringing local businesses onto the show to spotlight you and really inspire other people. Just keep pushing forward if they're passionate about starting their own business. And you are the epitome of that. You took a leap of faith on your own, and look what you've grown. So kudos, and so excited for you.
Yes, thank you so much. It definitely is not easy, and it wasn't anything like I thought it would be, but it's definitely worth it. So if someone's looking to do it, they've got to make the jump. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
I love it. Love it. Well, KJ, go ahead and let us know how do people find you, and if they're ready to schedule the next move, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you can go on our website and request a quote online. So our website is movenow.com, and move, of course, is spelled MUV. So it's MUVNOW.com, or you can give us a call at 813-421-8333.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on with us. I think this could turn into a great partnership with you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and this is exciting. So thanks for the opportunity to join you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thanks, KJ.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Wow. Young and owns a business. Love it. So now we are going to bring on, sorry about that. Now we are going to go ahead and bring on Dawn from Rock Solid Home Inspections, Vito, also with Rock Solid Home Inspections, and Lindsay with Florida Best Quote. Hi, guys.
Hey, Vito. Hey, Lindsay.
Welcome. Thanks for being on with us. So
hey, guys.
To hear and get informed on insurance and inspections, because this is huge. So let's go ahead and just start out. Dawn, we'll start with you. Give us a little bit about you and Rock Solid and what you guys do and what sets you apart.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks, guys. We really appreciate coming on with Jen and Jess. We're just so excited. So thank you. Rock Solid Home Inspections. We absolutely do home inspections in various areas throughout the Tampa Bay area, to include Pinellas, Pasco, Hillsborough. We're up into Sarasota, Weeki Wachee. So if you've got a home someplace, we've got an inspector to get out there and give you a rock solid inspection. So I am head of marketing and general manager. So I do a lot of the road shows, as you guys know. But I've learned so much in my 3 years now with Rock Solid, who's been around now for about 7 years. So I've learned a lot as far as actual home inspections. I don't go out to the properties and go up on the roofs and things like that. but my awesome master inspector has taught me a lot. I know a lot more than I did when I started. So we're just pretty proud of what we've developed, and that's my story, girls, and I'm sticking to it.
Vito, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Vito Bianca. Lead inspector at Rock Solid Home Inspections. I run all the training programs, and I make sure that all our guys are ready to give you the. I basically just hold everybody up to standards. I'm probably the Hell's Kitchen version of the inspector when it comes to the other guys. But it means when you get Rock Solid Home Inspection, you're going to be treated like family. You're going to get the most thorough inspection. In my opinion, one of the best inspections that this industry has to offer. And you're going to be treated like family. We treat every customer like family. We inspect every home like it's our own. And in addition to that, we work closely with trusted partners in the real estate and insurance agencies like Lindsay from Florida Best Quote. And what that means for you is that while we're still there, we're still helping you even after the inspection is over. A lot of times, other inspectors will just say, it is what it is, none of my business, I report on the news and I'm going away. That's it, pay me. We don't think that's treating people like family. So, you know what, maybe, and we'll get into some of those issues later today, I'm sure. But when there's issues, we're not going to dump it all on the realtor. We'll work with you. We'll help you navigate. We provide re-inspections. Sometimes we can update things remotely with a minimum of documentation. We get it. That's all I want to say. We get it, and we're going to work with you.
Good stuff.
Lindsay?
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Lindsay DeColivis. Very excited to be here with Jen and Jess. I'm with Florida Best Quote Insurance. We are an independent insurance agency in the Tampa Bay area. I'm a senior agent here. I've been with Florida Best Quote for 10 years now. Just something that sets us apart. Our agency was actually started by a former realtor. So we've catered our entire business to the real estate industry. We cater to the real estate transaction. And our biggest thing is that we're here to help you get to the closing table and to help your clients get to the closing table. We have over 40 carriers in the area, and we've got solutions for just about every 4-point issue, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. So just anytime you need help with flood insurance, home insurance, auto insurance, give us a call, and we're here to help your clients and you with your insurance needs.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So let's go ahead and just jump right on in. So for a matter of keeping this into our hour time frame, we would kind of just like to really touch on the 4-point items, and then also how that correlates with insurance. So if we guys want to, maybe start out, Vito or Dawn, with what are the 4 points? And then I would like Lindsay to kind of go into why somebody should need a 4-point from an insurance standpoint, when they should get a 4-point, all that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll go.
I'll let Vito go ahead and go ahead, Vito.
Thanks, Dawn. If at any time you guys feel visual aids are appropriate, I can share my screen. I took the liberty of having the citizens form, the Rock Solid form, and all of that ready to go too, if that will.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's. If there's no objections, I'll jump right in. Share screen. Screen 1. There we go. Yay! I'm old. I'm not always technically savvy, but we'll get through it. So right here, we're looking at the citizens form. This is the accepted form for Florida. Interestingly enough, a 4-point inspection is a form that insurance carriers require on homes over a certain age, and usually it's around 20, but it goes up and down depending on the carrier. And it's used by insurance companies to determine risk. Translate that as money, how much you're going to pay for your premiums. So the basics in a 4-point are the electric, the HVAC, the plumbing, and the roof. The form itself, it's just a form. We're answering some simple questions. Even though you have to be at a minimum a home inspector to do it, although specialists in their given fields can do their own sections. For instance, an electrician can do the electrical system. Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation has stated that a 4-point inspection is not a home inspection, does not meet the minimum requirements to be a home inspection. So I would strongly discourage anyone trying to use a 4-point just to save money on getting a home inspection. It's not designed to identify defects that a typical homeowner is going to be interested in. All we're doing is looking for some very basic stuff so the insurance companies can give you a number, basically. And this is the citizens form. So even though there's no standard set, most carriers want the citizens form or a form that is similar to it. And I will show you the rock solid form. We go through and there are requirements of dwelling each side, roof each slope, water heater, under cabinet plumbing drains, exposed valves, electrical panel and interior door, electrical box with the panel off, and hazards or deficiencies. The requirements to do this are a general residential or building contractor, a building code inspector, or a home inspector. And here again, a trade-specific licensed professional may sign off on the section that their trade covers. Here's a house I did this month. In a beautiful place. We still find issues, but you can see it's dwelling each side, roof each slope. There's the water heater. That's what it looks like under the cabinets. And the exposed valves, electrical panel, label on, label off. We get into the electrical. It's a circuit breaker panel. It's 200 amps. It's sufficient for the current usage. Copper wiring. It's 18 years old. It's a Siemens, and we did not see any hazards. No aluminum branch wiring, no active knob and tube, no cloth wiring. So overall, the general condition of the electrical system was satisfactory. A quick note: anything other than green lights all the way through typically means remediation. So even if it's a minor defect, if your inspector lists it as a hazard, it's got to be fixed typically, which is why I brought up that we will work with you after the fact. So if there's an issue, and Lindsay will explain that, we kind of work behind the scenes to make sure that you're not burdened unduly and you can get to closing. HVAC system. Real easy. We turn it on. Is it working? Yeah. Is there any signs of water damage? Are there anything other than a normal heating system in place? And in this instance, you can see with the photos, this is going to have to be addressed. There were just buckets of water coming down off of both handlers in the closet, and you can see the water damage in the area. And I made a note to that, and I've recommended professional evaluation. I don't think it would be doing anybody a service to put out what would be described as a quote unquote soft report where I minimize the severity of this. Yes, it means more work for everybody involved, but if you're buying a home, you don't want to move in and then on day 2, you've got major issues. So we noted. That's what the condensers look like and the air handlers, and you can see what some of these look like. That's all mold growth, by the way. Plumbing. Start with the water heater. Is there a temperature pressure relief valve in the water heater? Yes. Any indications of an active leak? Yes. In this instance, there was. And some basic stuff. An active leak was observed under the master bathroom sink closest to the tub. That's probably going to be a real easy fix, but again, you got to make sure that gets repaired before, because it is directly related to what they're asking for on the form. Excuse me. In addition, they're asking for the general condition of plumbing fixtures and connection to appliances. And you know what? It occurs to me I can make your life easier here. So most everything was satisfactory. Showers and tubs and sinks were not. The sinks, we had an active leak. And in this house, it was 18 years old. It was company owned, and it had been a rental for the entire time. There was some abuse, even though the house was in good structure. Renters don't take care like homeowners do. And in this case, the faucets were loose, faucet handles were broken, general connections need to be touched up before the sale goes through. And here on the materials, because they do want to know what materials were being used and whether or not they were original or updated. Some of the materials were PEX, and it's not a big deal to me, but some insurance companies will raise the rates or just walk away if it's PEX. PEX was the industry's answer to polybutylene. And it was good for a while, but the pre-2009 stuff raises eyebrows at underwriting. So we note it, and usually I let the client know, hey, for the few bucks it would take to replace that supply line going from the shutoff to the fixture, then you'll save money. It's worth its weight in gold. And onto the roof. So in this particular one, we had a asphalt shingle roof that was 18 years old, and average lifespan of an asphalt shingle roof is 25 years. I did not see any indications of active roof leaks. However, you can see by my comment, shingle tab ends were curled at the corners. That is an indication that it may be nearing the end of its useful life, but that right there is a answer for a licensed roofer. And if I can, I don't have a good picture here, but I can pull one up if I need to. And I think I will. I can get that for you. I think it'll be useful. There you go, right there. So you can see right there how the corners are lifting up. That's an indication that it may be nearing the end of its useful life. So I am going to recommend a roofer there. But it is, more importantly, it's an issue. It's an issue on the 4-point, and it should be addressed. Where was I? Right here. Here we go. And that's it. That's the 4-point. Let me stop sharing for a moment. And does anyone have any questions to put in the chat on any of that? Lindsay, did I forget anything?
No, you didn't forget anything. You did great, Vito. Thank you. If I can, though, I'd love to just jump in with some of the insurance perspective here on the 4-point inspection. So Vito just went through how it's all done, what all the 4 points are. Now, as far as this goes, why do we have this form? Why is it needed? I'm paying for a home inspection. That's hundreds of dollars. Why do I have to pay for yet another inspection? The 4-point is actually an eligibility issue with the insurance carriers. The standard age for a 4-point requirement with a majority of carriers, and again, I write through 40 of them, so the youngest age I have with all 40 of my carriers is at 30 years. I do believe there's one company or one agency that asks for them at 20 years. Vito might know who that is. I'm not quite sure, but a majority of the time, I let anyone know if a house is 30 years or older, you should be getting that 4-point inspection. Most carriers require that prior to allowing us to bind coverage. So before you can even close on the home, we have to get a copy of that and review it to make sure that it's acceptable for insurance reasons. And what they're doing is they're just checking all of the major systems to make sure there are updates and there's no deficiencies to those systems. So we're looking at, as Vito mentioned, the HVAC, the plumbing, the roof, and the electric. I think that was the 4, right? Did I get that? So we do have a lot of our carriers require those done prior to closing. I do have several carriers who are starting to actually complete their own inspections after closing. Now, the interesting thing here is that I would still always recommend getting one done prior, because you don't want to find out that, let's say you have that shingle roof that's got that slight lifting on the edge after closing and your buyer is stuck having to replace the roof they weren't preparing for. So we always want to get those 4-point inspections done before closing, so we know if there's any major issues for insurability reasons. And then if they do their inspection after the fact, we'll know, we don't have to be nervous. We'll know they'll go in there and they'll see everything that's great and fantastic, because Vito already showed us that everything in there is wonderful. So that's the reason why we get it done prior to closing. The biggest thing is always to keep in mind, as far as 4-point inspections go, anything listed as a deficiency or an issue on the 4-point then becomes an issue for the insurance company. So even if it's something small or something that normally wouldn't show up on a 4-point inspection, seems like a silly thing, like double taps, for example. Those are very inexpensive to repair. It's not a major issue, but if it's on there, it is going to be an underwriting issue. When we do these 4-point inspections, we often find small things. There's always something in a home that's not perfect or not completely up to the current standards when someone goes to sell. So we do have a lot of options as well for, let's say you do have to repair those double taps, but the seller is unwilling to do it before closing. Most of my carriers would allow 30 days to replace that afterwards. Same thing goes for the roof, or even that PEX plumbing, if that was prior to 2009. A lot of our carriers will give some wiggle room to get that done after closing, because they understand a buyer's not going to do that before they own a home. So there's a lot of options, and then we'll kind of go through a couple of the items that come up often. But I'm just always keep in mind as I do this, I think in 10 years of insuring homes, I've come across one home that I could not insure. I can find a solution for just about every 4-point issue you have. I will never tell your insured a home is uninsurable. I will find a way to make it work. If that's the house they want, we'll get them through closing, get them into the home, and then we can fix the insurance after if, let's say, we have to go a more expensive route or something like that to get you into that house. But if it's your dream home, we will make it happen. We'll work with you and the realtors and the inspector and get everyone into the home and everyone happy. So just to kind of start, Vito, I don't know if you want to take a look, we can kind of go through, maybe start with some of the electrical items that are tend to be big issues with insurance companies.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I have a question because I think it's kind of important. Back to the given the 30 days after closing to get items fixed. So just to confirm, let's say we have a buyer and the seller just can't afford to do it prior to closing. Let's say they give the buyer, credits, the buyer takes care of it after closing. So prior to closing, that buyer will still be able to get insurance so they can get through underwriting, get their loan, and then they will have the 30 days to get the roof replaced, but they can get insurance prior to, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Usually some of my carriers require either just a signed statement that it will be done within the 30 days. Others want a copy of the roofing contract because then they know you've put some money down, so you're definitely getting it done. And others just say, fine, it's great. If it's not done within 30 days, we're going to jump off the policy, so no problem. So as long as I know it's definitely getting done, there's no issues there, it's in the seller's contract, I can absolutely get insurance on that house.
Awesome.
We can also do policies where we could do actual cash value on the roof for a year to get you through closing if you're not ready to do it right away. So I've also got a lot of options if someone wants to get in the house and try and extend that roof life for a year and kind of wait it out a little bit or wait a little bit so they can build up some funds to redo that. So there's so many options when it comes to the roof as far as getting it through closing.
Okay, awesome. All right, let's go ahead and I think we were jumping into the electrical.
Yes. Fantastic. So I'll just kind of jump into some of the big things that we see on our end as far as insurance agents, and Vito, just jump in and, if you've got a picture, an example, or any information, because I am not an inspector. I am an insurance agent, so these areas are not my area of expertise. I just know what I need to look out for. So one of the big things that we always talk about is panels, electrical panels that can be bad and what ones to expect. So the big ones that will be an issue are Federal Pacific, Sylvania, Zinsco, Challenger, and Stablock. Those are the ones that a lot of the carriers have on their underwriting guidelines. Now, mind you, I do have several carriers who will take any of these panels as long as they're in good condition. So just because you see that show up on your inspection, if Vito was out there, he would point out, you have a Federal Pacific panel. A lot of carriers don't like these. Consult an insurance agent. If you give me a call, I can let you know, listen, I can get you insurance as is, Or if you get it fixed, I can absolutely get you insurance and give you 30 days. I've got so many options there for how that works. But those are the big ones to work out for. You might even see a situation where a challenger panel pops up on the report, but it might not be a bad panel. Not all challenger panels are bad. Not all Stablock panels are bad. It depends on what years they were made. So again, if you see that on the report, consult with the inspector, consult with an electrician, and then talk to an insurance agent to see what options are available there. All right. So the other things that we do see, one of the other big ones that pops up that can be a little scary is single strand aluminum wiring. If you have multi-strand aluminum wiring, that is often going to some of your major 220 volts. So that is fine if it says multi-strand, and I may have said that completely wrong, Vito, I apologize. But if it is multi-strand, we're good. It's a single strand that can be a problem. The excellent news is it does not require you to rewire your entire house. Not necessary, not needed. All we have to do is get Lumicon connectors or Copeland crimp connectors in there, and I've seen it done for less than $1,000, and insurance companies are perfectly happy with it. So very easy fix. Sounds scary at first, but that one's easy to get around. The other quick things are double tap breakers. As I mentioned, those can be pretty easy to fix. I usually don't have any carriers who have an issue getting through closing and fixing those with proof after. And then lastly, the big one that we've been seeing a lot, and this is actually one of the areas where Rock Solid shines, and I really enjoy when I see one of their inspections come through because I know they've taken the time to clarify this information. Vito, if you want to pull that up as far as cloth wiring goes, there's cloth wiring, which is just standard old cloth wiring, and that it can be a major issue for insurance companies and would need to be repaired. However, if it's cloth over something, so cloth sheath wiring over plastic or Romex or something else, that's perfectly acceptable. All we need is an inspector who knows to note that on the inspection form.
Thank you.
Some pictures popping up here. If you want to explain what that is, Vito.
So center left is an example of the cloth wiring that's okay. It's cloth sheathing on the exterior, but Romex over the copper conductors. In the center picture, now this is where it is a hazard. This is cloth wiring. This is the old stuff, 30s, 20s, that kind of thing, early 40s even. And you can see you have copper conductors with the cloth in direct contact with it. That's a hazard. Not just due to its age, but because the cloth is in direct contact with the copper conductors. Now, we make that distinction, and the citizens form doesn't. We kind of had to take it a step further because there are inspectors out there who just throw it all under the, hey, it's cloth wiring, it's not my fault, insurance companies, get yourself together. And all of that's done at the expense of the buyer. And what happens is, take that picture on the left. Well, there's cloth. It's cloth wiring. That's all citizens wants to know, right? It's cloth wiring. So you have an electrician come out, whether you're a real estate agent or a home buyer or a home seller, one of you ends up paying for an electrician to come out. He takes one look at that and goes, that's okay. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Whoever that inspector is a joke, and don't waste my time. So you've just spent $150 for no reason. And all of this is simply because there's no clarification on the form, and the inspector ends up assuming all the liability. That's why the situation is what it is. So all we did was we made a distinction. Let me pull that up again. Yeah, I'm looking at the electrical. Here is, let me pull it over here. Cloth fabric covered sheathing with cloth fabric covered copper conductors. That's a mouthful, but it's appropriate, I promise. and the answer is no, it wasn't there. And we note that the presence of wiring that is cloth sheathing on the exterior, but not on the copper conductor, is not noted in this inspection. And there you go. We've just eliminated 99% of all the problems that come up in every house that's sold that was built between 1945 and 1970. Think about that for a minute. Yeah. So, here's you brought up double taps. Here's what that looks like. 2 wires crammed into 1 breaker that wasn't designed for it. And it's not about the electrical load. It's about the connection. It wasn't designed for it. The connection's not right. Simple things. Over here on the right, an open knockout. You understand that piece of plastic, like it's all, like there is on the right side? That piece of plastic's like 50 cents. Excuse me, not on the right, but it's a little plastic clip you get at Home Depot, pop right in. I mean, and that for lack of that, it could cost you, you can't get the policy written until that's in. Crazy, but it's there. So having somebody who's looking for those things to, can save you a lot of problems later. Here's a great shot of real old school knob and tube wiring.
Knob and tube is possibly one of the ones I still have not found a good place to ensure that. So if you hear knob and tube wiring, just know right off the bat that one likely needs to be remediated.
Yeah, and you know what? There are plenty of instances where it's been abandoned, but nobody bothered to keep the paperwork. And when I get up there, of course, I'm going to test it with an electrical ticker just to see if it lights up. The problem is, even if it tells me it's not live, I'm not an electrician. I don't know under what circumstances it could become live. So all I can tell you is that there's knob and tube wiring there, and you still need the electrician. I always recommend, whenever I see this, I do recommend professional evaluation.
Fantastic. All right, does anyone have any questions on electric?
No, I think we are good, unless you want to explain a little bit as to why, just with the knob and tube, it's for those that don't know what that is, why that's hard to get insurance on.
Vito, you can probably speak more to the actual hazard that comes along with it. I just know that it is very old wiring. I believe it's known to be a fire hazard. And so pretty much the insurance companies just don't want to touch that because there's way too high of a risk of something happening that then would result in a loss.
So basically it's a big fire hazard.
Is that it, Vito? Is it fire hazard? Is it shock hazard? Is it?
It's a fire hazard.
Fire.
I have a question.
I keep saying I need to get my electrician's license.
Yeah, Lindsay or Vito, I have a question. Is this particular wiring prevalent in houses at a certain age, between a certain age, or, I mean?
Yes, the older homes, like this was standard practice in 1920s.
Okay, gotcha. Because there's a lot of older homes, we have in this market, of course, Seminole Heights. The older bungalows, just to give people an idea of like when when this is prevalent. That's interesting.
Yeah, 20s to 40s, and just to tell you, I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years. I think I've only seen knob and tube show up on a 4-point inspection maybe 3 times. So it's not something I see too often around here. I do believe most homeowners have remediated it by now, or it's been disconnected and it's just kind of hanging out in the attic, and we figure that out during the process. So don't see it a lot, even in those Seminole Heights homes. Most of them have been updated. So it's not something that's super prevalent. We see aluminum wiring more often than we see the knob and tube. So
good stuff.
All right, fantastic. If anyone else has any questions, just type in with them. I'm just going to move on so we keep going here. Just wanted to quickly mention on the HVAC, that one usually is not a big issue on the 4-point inspection from an insurance perspective. The biggest thing is that most of the companies want to know that there's central heat in the home. And their biggest concern there is that they don't want people using space heaters or anything else that could be a fire hazard to stay warm in the colder months. And then also some carriers are concerned with the air conditioning to make sure that we do have the cooling throughout the house so we don't develop mold. I do have a few carriers who will take window and wall units as long as they're sufficient to heat and cool the entire square footage of the house. I have had situations once I came across a house where the HVAC system, the exterior system had been stolen. So the 4-point inspection just said no system. And I actually had to go through Citizens at that time, and I called them and they said, well, it's not deficient. There's no issues with it. It's just missing. So that's fine. And all they did was ask the buyer to sign a form saying they would never use space heaters if it came down to it. So there's a little bit more wiggle room there. Some carriers require them to be newer just so that they won't fail or leak or have any major issues like that. But I mean, as long as it's working and in pretty good condition, usually the HVAC is not a major insurance issue.
So the age doesn't really matter as long as it's in working condition.
So out of my 40 carriers, probably about 5 or 10 of them, maybe 5 or 8 of them kind of get a little picky about the age if it gets too old. But I mean, most of them, 20, I see quite a few 20, 25-year-old ones, and that usually is not a problem as long as it's fine.
Okay. So usually anything less than 20 years will be good.
Pretty. Yeah. Yep. And if there's a carrier who won't take it because of that age, I can easily find another one who will. So that's one of those situations where if there are the pickier carriers, we would just go through someone else at that time.
Okay, awesome.
Which is one of the great things about being an independent insurance agent is I've got so many options and so many solutions that I'm not tied down to one specific set of guidelines. So definitely give me a call if you have any issues with that. All right, so plumbing, we'll do plumbing and then the roof. These are two that are kind of big ones right now, especially in the state of Florida. We've got a lot going on in the industry. In the Orlando area and the Miami area, there are a lot of roofers going door to door to get roofs replaced. There are a lot of plumbers out there working with lawyers to file claims and lawsuits as far as plumbing leaks and whatnot. So the carriers are getting a little bit more particular on these items than they have been in the past. So this is always a good one to kind of just stay informed about and what issues might come up. The biggest things on the 4-point that an insurance company obviously won't take, if a house has active leaks, they're not going to insure that. They're going to want that repaired immediately. With the water heater, a big thing is the age of the water heater. Good news about that is it's not a really expensive fix for the home. $400, $600, you can get a brand new water heater. So that one's usually pretty easy to get done in the process with the contract, either right after closing or before. But one of the biggest things that carriers are looking for on that is that there's a proper TPR valve on the top, which Vito can explain that a little bit further. And then also the age of the water heater. On average, most carriers will only accept a water heater inside the home up to 15 years old. And then outside of the home, which would be in the garage counts as outside, up to 20 years old. So we can see some issues with the water heater as far as age goes. I don't know if you have anything to add on the water heater, Vito.
I think I could take a nap and you could run this class perfectly. I'm learning from you at this point, Lindsay.
Oh, thank you. Like I said, I do believe I should get my plumber's license, my electrician's license, and then I'll really know it all. So as far as the plumbing goes, the big one that's always been an issue that most people are familiar with is polybutylene plumbing. That was used a lot in the 70s and 80s. It's known as a gray pipe, and it was a flexible pipe that was used. It can be different colors, I believe. It was a flexible plumbing that was used that was supposed to be the next big thing, like Vito mentioned earlier, similar to PEX. Turns out as it got older, 15, 20 years went by and they started to realize there were a lot of issues with it. And so the polybutylene plumbing has been recalled. So most carriers will require that to be remediated. I do have a few options where I can insure either with limited water damage or excluded water damage, which means you can get through closing, but you will want to repair those because if they're more likely to leak, you don't want to be without insurance for that issue. So definitely a big one to keep an eye on there. As far as the PEX goes, like Vito again mentioned, 2009 and newer is where they started to redo the PEX plumbing, so it got a little better. So usually if you hear PEX at an inspection from your home inspector, ask them to take a look at the pipes and see if they can find a year of installation, or ask the seller to find out if they know when those were installed. If it's newer PEX, it shouldn't be a problem. We just need that notated on the form.
I would like to chime in on that note. So we also know it's why it's so important to have a good inspector, because a good inspector knows that carriers will accept other things besides a picture. For instance, our licensed opinion carries a lot of weight. If I see a permit for a complete repipe in 2012, and it's for about $1,500. Guess what? I know that PEX is post 2009, and I can say that, and I can use the permit information to back it up. Ditto for any county approvals or approval codes, FBC codes. Even though as home inspectors we don't look up that kind of stuff, when we're doing a 4-point, it's only an extra minute for me to look up the approval code if it's on the permit or on an invoice, save your paperwork, all that stuff, and I can get you through the process with a minimum of information.
Fantastic. Thank you. So then the next one, again, if you see any of those, just give me a call. I can take a look. I can let you know what options we have. Like I said, I can get you through closing to remediate. I can get you insurance for a year to remediate. Lots of options there for your buyers. If they want to get into the home, we can definitely work around that. The other type of plumbing that has started to become, the carriers have started to become a bit more wary of in the last about year and a half is galvanized plumbing. That is pretty prevalent, and that one just does have a tendency to rust from the inside and then fail. So if you do have galvanized plumbing, again, it doesn't mean the house is uninsurable. I have a lot of carriers that will take them as long as they're in pretty good condition. My biggest recommendation, though, is having someone take a look at those pipes to make sure that they're not rusting and deteriorating, because here's the worst thing about them. If you get into the home, you buy the house, and 5 months later find out that you've got a leak and it's because the galvanized plumbing is failing and the house needs to be replumbed, that is not a covered insurance claim. Insurance does not pay to replumb just because the pipes are old. That's a maintenance issue. So this is an issue you definitely want to find before you get into the home, and be prepared to either replace yourself or work that into the contract price. Vito, do you want to jump in on the galvanized at all?
Just that it typically has a lifespan of about 80 years. So even those houses that are built in the 50s and 60s, where I see the most of it, it's getting there, and you'll know it's getting there because pressure. You'll have pressure issues. It isn't the city that's causing it. It's the pipes. You can see from the center picture, the inner diameter shrinks. Less water moving through. You know, you're going to get those water saver showers.
Yeah. And again, I mean, insurance, you know, they're there for major issues, but the biggest thing to always keep in mind is their job is to try and avoid issues, not to take on houses that are going to have a problem. So that's why they're looking for these things. The last one on here, you see that picture there that Vito has, is cast iron pipe. This is actually very new, a very new issue for insurance. I mean, I think I've just started to see it show up on underwriting guidelines in the last 6 months. And it does have a lot to do with some very popular ads that have been out there about filing claims for water damage. They're starting to go after the cast iron pipes and requiring carriers to tear up the entire floor and replumb everything under the slab, which is costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so they're just getting a little nervous of cast iron pipes. So again, if you see that on there, it does not mean it's uninsurable. It just means we need to go with one of those carriers who will be fine with it. So again, if you have someone told, I cannot insure this home because of cast iron plumbing or because of galvanized plumbing, give me a call. I absolutely have options for that, because they're not bad pipes. It's just, you know, that's the nature of the market, the nature of the industry. It's where we are right now. Florida's a little tricky, and everyone's a little nervous of pipes at the moment because of everything going on. So just give us a call and we can work out an option there. All right, before we get into roofs, does anyone have any questions on the pipes or the plumbing?
I have.
This is so informative.
Oh, good. Do you have something to add, Vito?
I do. If you don't know whether or not your home has cast iron plumbing, or the house you're going to buy does, we offer a sewer scope service where we can either go in through the roof if it's accessible, or through a clean out on the outside, and we actually run a camera from the house all the way to the city tap when we can reach, and it will give you a video recording and a report highlighting any defects we found with the system, whether it's cast iron, whether we see roots, low spots, bellies, compressions, cracking, rust, delamination, scale, blockages, whatever it is, you'll be able to make a decision before you buy the house. And when you have a sewer scope inspection performed by us, since we're paying for warranties that are typically 90 days in nature, it actually doubles your sewer guard warranty to 180 days. Worth its weight in gold. You could save yourself tens of thousands of dollars, and our customers have just by paying for this service. It is one that I am a wholehearted, Kool-Aid drinking, firm believer in all day long.
I would not buy a house without doing a sewer scope. With what I've seen, I've gotten that call with the tiers because it's going to be a $20,000 fix to replumb. So definitely give them a call for that. All right, so we are getting towards the end, but I did want to make sure we jumped into roofs real quick because this is also always a hot topic item as far as buyers and sellers go with the roofs. These are, again, as I mentioned, the rules are constantly changing, the guidelines are constantly changing, and it is getting more and more strict. The problem is we've got roofing companies that go door to door, knock on doors saying, let's file a claim for wind damage that happened in 2018. You've even got some roofing companies that get up there with, golf clubs and create damage to make it look like hail. So the insurance companies are getting hit up hard for these older roofs. So they're getting, again, wary of them and they're not wanting to take them on. So as far as the roofs go, I know Vito mentioned earlier that your average shingle roof lasts 25 years. So there's one thing, you've got basically your warranty or what the roofers will say how long they last. Then you've got what your inspectors say for how long they will last. And then you've got how long your insurance companies say they will last. And the insurance company, sadly, is the one that has the final say because they're putting up the money to insure the home and they're on the hook if there's an issue. So we do have to meet their guidelines. On average, there's two types of shingle. And Vito has them up there. We've got a 3-tab shingle, which is on the top left. That's where all the shingles are the same size and they lie flat. The one in the middle is architectural or dimensional shingle. That's the newer type of shingle most people are using, and that's where the shingles overlap each other and they're different sizes and shapes. The 3-tab shingle, most carriers will take up to 15 years. The architectural shingle, most carriers will take up to 20 years. I do have one carrier that will go 30 years, Citizens will go 25, and then we also have some guidelines as far as remaining useful life. They may make some exceptions if possible on those. So again, if you have the older roof, just give me a call and let me take a look at it. Let me take a look at the inspection. The big thing to keep in mind with those shingles is, and this is actually going to jump back to that photo Vito showed us in the beginning, where you could just slightly see that lifting. The one thing is that the insurance companies are all going to send inspectors out after closing. And they're going to stand on the ground most likely and look up at the roof. If they see that lifting and mark it, your insurance company is likely going to ask for replacement after closing. So the biggest thing is just knowing that if you're getting into a house with an older roof, you're likely going to have to replace it sooner than you would expect just because the insurance companies are getting so particular there. So it's definitely something to plan for. But I do have a lot of options. I have carriers who will do actual cash value on the roof so we can get you into the home with a 26-year-old roof and give you a year to get it replaced. I've got a lot of carriers who will do different options, some that will take them a little older and pay out in different ways. So again, just give me a call and we can usually figure out something there. And I can always do 30 days to get that replaced as well after closing with a roofing contract. So that's not a problem. Flat roofs are another one that can be a big issue. Those don't last as long in Florida. So most carriers want those to be 10 years or younger. So just keep that in mind. If it is a little older and in really good condition, I can usually get that insured as well. Tile and metal roofs are still pretty easy. Anywhere from 30 to 50 years is the guideline for most carriers. And then as far as it goes with the remaining useful life, they always ask for that information. Citizens requires at least 3 years remaining useful life on a roof. Most other carriers require at least 5 years remaining useful life. The biggest thing I always want to mention here is that 3 years and that 5 years does not mean you have that long to replace the roof. 3 years means they want at least 3 years remaining useful life. So as soon as you renew, you're now at 2 years remaining useful life. So before you can get a new policy at renewal a year later, they're going to require you to replace the roof. So 3 years really means 1 year left. 5 years really means 2 years left. So again, insurance language is just a little bit different than how you would interpret in real life. inspector might say it's got 7 years remaining, but if it's a 20-year-old roof, the insurance company might have a problem with it. So I urge you, if you see those older roofs, if you have a listing or a buyer looking at a house with an older roof, give me a call. I can let you know absolutely what options we have so you can work that into the negotiations with the seller.
All right, awesome. You want to talk a little bit about wind since we're on roofs, what a wind mitigation report is, why it's needed, and when to get one of those?
Absolutely. My first question to that would be always get one. Always, always, always. Wind mitigation inspections became an option after the 04-05 hurricane season when our hurricane rates went through the roof. So it's there, and it's required for the insurance companies to give you these discounts if your house has certain factors that make it more wind resistant. So this is usually, I believe, $75 inspection that could save you hundreds of dollars and even thousands of dollars a year on your insurance. And it doesn't matter what year the house was built or even how old the roof is, you still could qualify for a discount. So your first biggest one is going to be the year of the roof replacement. If it was permitted after March of 2002, that's one discount. So a newer roof is a discount, even if you have a 1920 house. The next one is your roof deck attachment. Yep, and that would be that 1A is the discount there. If you don't have a roofing permit for proof of replacement, you might not get that discount. So if you have a seller, see if they can find the roofing contract as well to prove the roof replacement if there was no permit pulled. The next discount is the roof deck attachment, and this one is usually updated when the roof is replaced. So if the roof was replaced after 2007, code was you had to use a certain size nail and a certain nail spacing in the roof deck. So that can be a discount. And also, if the house was built before 1960, it likely has dimensional lumber in the attic, and that's also a discount. So on those 1920 houses, even if they have an older roof, that could be a discount that might save them $150 a year on their insurance. So it's worth it to get the inspection. The next one is your roof to wall attachment. This is where you hear us talk about your clips or your single wraps or double wraps. The big thing to keep in mind here is these were installed when the house was built, and they started using clips in the 1960s in Pinellas County. So again, have your inspector check for wind mitigation discounts. You don't want to leave this money on the table. If you're told that you don't have enough nails to qualify, or that maybe you don't have the clips on every single truss, give us a call, because there are options where you can actually get those retrofitted. You can get the nail added to qualify, or you could even get the clips installed if you're replacing the roof. So many options there to get that discount. And that clips discount can save you anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a year on insurance, depending on your location. Up next, we have the roof geometry. This one is if you have a hip roof, which it would have to be at least 90% hip with most carriers. And as you see, Vito's got some photos up here. The hip roof means that all sides meet at the bottom. In that upper left-hand corner, you can see that there's no A-shaped gables there, which just means it's a bit more wind resistant. If the wind comes up under that gable roof, it's going to lift the shingles. So that's why the carriers prefer that hip roof. If there's a flat portion, like a flat porch, and it's not attached to the shingle, then we do not have to include that in the calculation. So definitely make sure you have that conversation with your inspector, and then the insurance agents will look for that as well. What next discount on there is our opening protection. The one thing to know here is that in order to qualify for this discount, which is a very big discount, every single opening has to be protected, including garage doors, sliders, front doors, back doors, skylights. I had the discount turned down once because the client did not have a doggy door protected for up to hurricane rated protection. So just make sure if you're talking to a company to get those installed, make sure they know that it's meeting the 9-pound missile rating, and then you'll need to get a wind mitigation inspection to prove that it is on all windows, doors, and openings. The last discount is going to be our SWR discount. This is usually added on most newer roofs. That is for your single water resistance layer. And it's a pretty small discount, usually about $15, $20. But if you're getting that installed with the new roof, then definitely make sure that the seller provides a copy of the roofing contract to show that it's there. Not all carriers will allow the discount for just that photo that Vito has there on the right-hand side. Some of them do require either the full photo of it or the roofing contract or permit showing it was installed. So the more information we have on roof replacement, the better situation we'll be in. And these, if you don't have If you don't have a wind mitigation inspection, the average cost of insurance in Florida right now is probably around $3,000. If you do have one, the average cost is around $1,500 in the area. So, I mean, it makes a huge difference. Definitely get those inspections. Make sure you're always working with an inspector who will take those photos every time, take the information, even if your client's unsure if they want to pay for it yet, they should have that information ready to go just in case they decide at the last minute to get those discounts.
So you kind of just answered my next question to you. It was going to be what is the savings versus the cost of adding a 4-point and a wind mitt to their home inspection. I always tell my clients it's peanuts compared to what you're going to save on your insurance over the year. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, the reason my agency was started is because my agency owner found out her insurance agent had never told her about wind mitigation discounts, and she was able to get her premium down $2,500 a year by just going out and getting a $75 wind mitt. We absolutely, I pretty much won't even insure you if you don't have a wind mitt. It just feels like robbing from you if we don't, because why give more money to the insurance companies if they don't need it? If it's, I think with Rock Solid, how much is it for a 4-point and wind mitt combo?
$90 for the home inspection.
$90 with a home inspection, $90, and I can guarantee you that wind mitt will save you at least $100 if you have just a new roof or just one small discount. So it's absolutely worth it to take a look at. And if you do replace your roof after closing and you get the wind mitt at that time, those discounts can be applied midterm as well. So it's always something to look into. You can get the clips installed after the fact, but I mean, for $90, you could save $2,000 a year on your home insurance, and that's huge.
And you recommend that on any age home. So even on a newer, 5-6-year-old home, would you still recommend the buyers get that report done?
Thank you for asking that question. And my apologies on not mentioning that earlier. If you have a house that is, so in 2002 is when the building codes changed. That's why the roof year is 2002 and newer, they'll get the discount. So any house built 2002 and newer will automatically get most wind mitigation discounts. So 2002 and newer does not need a wind mitt. It will not need a 4-point either because we're not over 30 years old. However, if the house has hurricane shutters and it's not brand new construction, you may then need to get the wind mitigation inspection in order to prove those discounts. So if you have a newer house and you're unsure if you should get one or not, just give me a call, shoot me an email. I can take a look at it and let you know.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so newer construction homes, no, we don't need a wind mitt on those. But anything 2001 and older, absolutely have your inspector take a look. If it's a flat roof with no attic access and the roof is over 20 years old, we might not be able to get any discounts just because we can't see them. So there is that situation, but your inspector will absolutely be able to let you know that that's where we are and that you won't be able to get any discounts on that.
Okay. And another question. I mean, I know the answer to this, but if let's say we have a home buyer that goes out and just does a home inspection, and then all of a sudden they find out they can get discounts, how hard is it from Rock Solid do we have to go back out to do another 4-point or wind mitt, or can they add that afterwards?
Most of the time we can just add it afterwards. Sometimes regardless of whether it is, now if you replace the roof, if you replace the electrical panel, if there were major issues, we'll take it on a case-by-case basis. But 90% of the time, something small, a P-trap was leaking, something needed, a double tap needed correction, something really, you know what, I'll take the pictures. If there's an invoice or something the contractor gave you, take a picture of that on your cell, send it to me, I'll upload it to the form. If you can find it, like wind mitigations, a lot of times the homeowner or the client, the seller won't have that paperwork in front of them, but they can pull it later. And then I get pictures of the invoice that clearly lists the underlayment on there. That wind mitigation I showed a minute ago, this wonderful woman, she had paperwork for everything that was ever done on that house for the last 20 years. It took me 2 full hours sifting through about 100 pages of stuff, but in the end, I was able to get her every credit possible. So yeah, send us what you got and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I can say that and anytime I've ever seen a rock solid inspector come across my desk that someone has worked with, if the buyer does not have the 4-point or win mitt, if we call them and say, hey, we need that 4-point, they usually have all those photos ready to go if there were no issues. So it's usually very easy to get it done at that point. Because I know from my perspective, if you have to start chasing those inspections at the last minute and the lender's looking for proof of insurance, it can really hold up the process. Then I get in trouble because I can't find, and I'm trying to chase down an inspector who's out in the field. That's one thing Rock Solid is fantastic about. Someone's always answering their phone. Someone's always in the office during the day and able to help if the buyer can't get that inspection because it's in their documents, they don't have a fax or email or anything. We can call Rock Solid directly and say, hey, can you email those over to us and we can get them quickly. So I definitely recommend giving them a call, giving them a shot on your home inspections.
Do you guys do pre-listing inspections? Do you find that people are doing that? Do you recommend a seller to do that to kind of know what maybe they're getting themselves into?
I'd like that. I'd like to field that question. Absolutely. I'm going to answer that. Before I do, I just want to let you know that I do have to jump off in a second, but
Okay.
You guys have been awesome, and thank you so much for allowing us to come and just talk today. And if anyone has any questions, Dawn will make sure you have our contact information. I'm at your service. Even though I'm in a training program, I won't have time to jump on these calls for a while. We're kicking around. You know what? Just send us your questions, and I will answer every single one, whatever it is.
Thank you.
I'm at
Thank
your
you for
service.
that.
But the pre-listing inspection is a fantastic inspection, and I guarantee it's worth its weight in gold. I sold my 1950s wood frame house in Largo full price. Why? Because I took the time to do a pre-listing home inspection with a 4-point, a wind mitt, a mold test, and a sewer scope video, and I laid it out there, put links on to the listing, and you know what? Of course, it was a 1950s house that never been updated. It was wood frame, but I only got serious buyers. Everybody knew what they were getting into, good, bad, and otherwise. In the end, I gave a $500 credit just to update a few things, and that was it. That was it. I would not sell or buy a house without doing I personally would never sell a house without having that stuff in advance. Think of all the inventory that's out there. You go to 3 houses in a day, maybe you've gone to 40 houses with 2 months. One of them has all that work done already for you. And if you have, say, somebody who works with like I know there are a couple of ones. I think Baba is one of them, where they do the title work for you and look up liens and have the pre-inspection agreement done. The pre-listing inspection done. If you can find stuff like that where everything's already done for you, even better, because now you know what you're getting into. It's
absolutely.
To piggyback on that real quick, what I can tell you as an insurance agent, one of my worst nightmares is during hurricane season, someone asks me for a quote at the beginning of the month. I send it over. I never hear back, but let them know I need inspections. And then at the end of the month, with a Hurricane Irma barreling up at our coast, they call me to get insurance. Bye, Vito. Thank you so much. They call my office to get insurance, and then we have to track down the inspections and find out that there's a major insurance issue. And suddenly I can't get bound before the hurricane's hitting, where we have all sorts of issues. So pre-listing inspections are fantastic. You know if there's an issue ahead of time, and then the buyers know to work with their insurance agent to work around that. I told you I have exceptions for pretty much every issue. The only time that doesn't work is when closing's in 3 days and I don't have time to work around it or to come up with exceptions or situations. So the earlier we find these issues, the better. So pre-listing is great, but also just keep in mind when you're getting your inspections during the inspection period, make sure your buyers are getting those inspections over to an insurance agent. They don't know how it works. They get a quote, they send it to their lender, they get the inspections, they're told it's good. They don't realize that they have to bring these together until the last minute. So I try and tell them, but if you can as well, just make sure that those inspections are getting over to an insurance agent. If you have one you trust, have them take a look at it before we get to the end and before we get past that inspection period. So we have plenty of time to come up with answers and solutions for all problems.
I want to chime is just like, when we're talking to the buyers, that's a really good way of being proactive, right? As a team, Jen, I know we do that with our buyers. We talk about all of the things that they need to be prepared for. And, I think this whole presentation has been just that, how to be proactive and avoid the pitfalls that could be really a huge issue to stop you from either buying or getting you into a situation where it's going to cost a lot of money. So.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, Jess, do you have any final questions before we go ahead and wrap up and then, give out contact information?
No, I don't. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to share?
Go ahead, Dawn.
Hey, just real quickly, Lindsay, can you share with everyone the reason that you folks really want to see a full home inspection? From time to time, we've had folks come out and we've done a home inspection and we've done a 4-point and win, and they send every insurance agent.
She's
And they-
frozen. I think I know what she might have been asking.
If the insurance agents ever want the home inspection, basically.
The full report.
No, please do not send that to me. Do not send your home inspection to me. There are some agents, I know that there's, every agency is a little bit different and every agency can have their own guidelines. I do know there are some agents that ask for them. If you have a buyer working with someone who asks for it, tell them find another agent because it's going to have issues. The home inspection is meant to tell you problems with the house. We don't want to give those problems to the insurance companies. They're not asking for it. It's too much information. Stick to the 4-point and win minute, the only ones they want. And then, so if there's ever a situation where even one of my carriers asks for a full home inspection, I find a different carrier to go through. It's just, I've had policies canceled because of chipped paint on a home inspection because another.
I second that.
Yeah.
I
was gonna say, Jessica, from a lender standpoint, do you guys ever want to see the home inspection either?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Less is more in our business, and we just want to keep it where we keep that information with the experts. I am not interested in home inspections at all on my end. But working with the home inspectors that do a great job, like Rock Solid, working with insurance companies that are knowledgeable, like you, Lindsay. You have absolutely blown me away with all of the information shared. I mean, you can tell absolutely that you're an expert in your field. So I've learned a lot just in this one presentation. So thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Dawn, is there anything you would like to add now that you're unfrozen?
Nope, I'm back. That's about it. Now that I'm unfrozen. Nope, that's it. It was a great class. And again, thank you guys for letting us jump on.
No, thank you. Dawn, if you want to go ahead, I have your contact information on the screen, but if you want to go ahead and just confirm that it's all correct.
Yep, all that looks, Officer Rock Solid, Home Inspect, that's great. You can give us a call there at the phone number. You can go to our website and place your order. We also have dashboards for all of our agents where you can order your inspection like on a Saturday on your cell phone. And you can pick your time, and you can even pick the inspector that you'd like to use. So we make it very easy to be accessible to us and get those inspections ordered.
Awesome. Lindsay, you want to go ahead and confirm your contact info?
That's correct. My direct line is 813-850-2222. That is my cell phone number. If I'm unavailable, it does port over to my office so that one of my team members can assist you immediately. My email is my name, Lindsay, at floridabestquote.com. That's Lindsay with an EY. And we also have our website, floridabestquote.com, where you can request a quote. We also have an app. If you go to the App Store and search Florida Best Quote, you can just download that to your phone and you can request a quote anywhere you are, anytime. All you have to do is put in there either your name as the realtor or lender for the referral source, or put in my name for the agent you want to work with, and we'll absolutely be able to get a quote out to you. Same day turnaround if we get it before 2 p.m. After 2 p.m., if it's a rush, let me know. Otherwise, we'll get it to you first thing next morning.
Good
Awesome.
stuff.
All right. This has been awesome. Thank you both. Please thank Vito again for us as well.
Yeah,
you guys
thank you for having
amazing.
us.
No, thank you so much. This was definitely beneficial to not just real estate agents, but buyers and sellers who may have been watching as well. So we
Absolutely.
greatly appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Thank you, ladies. Have a
Thank you,
fabulous
Jen and Jess. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.
That was good. Even, I mean,
That was
even
good.
I do this on a daily basis, and I'm still learning, learning stuff. Obviously I've heard
Like-
of the terms before, what is what, but being able to see the photos and kind of know
That's
what
crazy.
to look for and kind of cut some of this stuff off at the pass. Hey, Mr. Buyer, this has this, are we sure we're kind of going to lean towards this house, or, that kind of thing. So that was awesome.
Yeah, and it's so, as on the lending side, listen, I've been involved in, first of all, I've seen galvanized piping, I've seen the aluminum wiring come across.
Mm-hmm.
That crazy wiring they were talking about in the 20s, haven't seen that, and she said it's seldom, so we don't see that, but these are real issues. And when I found out about these issues, guess what? We're already through underwriting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, had, there been a pre-listing home inspection, guess what? That could have been taken care of way before our buyer even walked inside the door to look at the house. So this is so important to buyers, is to make sure that you protect yourself, spending the little bit of money to avoid thousands and thousands of dollars, or maybe that the loan won't even close because you can't insure it. I mean, how about that? So I learned a lot. This was awesome.
Well, another thing, a lot of people, where it gets kind of being like, like you said, you find it when you're already through underwriting, is not having a partnership with a knowledgeable insurance agent that as soon as you get that report, I mean, most inspection companies, you're getting the report that night or the next day from the time you do your inspection. So as soon as you get that report, send it to your insurance agent and say, hey, what issues are we going to have? What do we need to fix now? And go ahead and get those, and use that as your negotiations with the seller. Say, hey, this is our issues. This is what my insurance agent has said. How can we save this? Or do we need to move on?
And this brings it all back to, like, it's important with who you work with, right? Like, who you work with is important. Work with people that are bringing value, that are knowledgeable, that know what they're doing, and they give personal attention. I mean, same day quotes, amazing. Rock solid. Being able to answer. I mean, there's been a lot of times that I've had agents where they call the inspectors and they don't answer their phone. That's huge. We're in a service business, so I'm just excited. And by the way, when we started this show, we forgot to introduce ourselves, by the way.
I know.
So, hey, Jen, who are you?
I am Jennifer Fernandez, Realtor and Branch Manager of the Property Pros Tampa office.
Excelente. And I am Jessica Sherrill with Freedom Mortgage. I'm a senior loan officer here. And we're just ready to help anybody that is looking to buy. Obviously, Jen also is, if you're looking to sell, we just want to be a resource, and we're bringing the community of Tampa Bay to you while we keep it real in real estate. So we're excited to just bring this every Friday. Thanks for having some Java with us.
Yeah, we are all about partnership. So even if you're in the real estate industry, please feel free. Our emails are on the screen. Reach out to us. Let's connect, and let's partner up.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.